obviously the way we played in the first half was a representation of how we prepared for the last 2 days, and we're not happy with what happened in the second half. Don't misunderstand me, but we're going to build on what we did the last 2 days and what we did the first half today to regain a personality of how we're trying to play. And then we're going to go out there and practice right away for the next couple of days. And, that's what happens in league play, man. It's you play these kind of teams in this league, and you gotta make plays. And in the second half, they got after us, and I think they had 5 or 6 offensive rebounds the first 2 possessions of the second half. And then Wildens came down and missed back-to-back layups, and those are deflating plays on both ends. And all those offensive rebounds, Keyshawn's got to help us. Wildens got to help us. Eric's got to help us. We got to lay wood on people and go get the ball, and we didn't. And then on offense, you got to make your layups, and we didn't do that. And then the second half, we didn't make layups, threes, or free throws. And when you do that, you're not beating one of the top 25 teams in the country on the road.
Michael and Anna?
What went into the decision to start Devon tonight at the point? How long was that something you kind of been thinking about? And just what did you think of his performance and how he fit there tonight?
Yeah, we need personality. You can't be any good if your point guard doesn't have a personality. I mean, there's got to be an aggression there. And Jacoby's a little beat up, and Jacoby's going to keep playing. I trust Jacoby tremendously, but Jacoby's a little beat up, just with the difficulty of everything that happens in every game, and and Jermaine's just not there. He's just not there. So Devon gave us a personality, and that's what we've been lacking. We've started every game bad offensively. Because at the point guard spot, we just haven't had aggression from there, and Devon gave us that. Now he's got to understand what we're doing better. He's got to defend better, but at least he gave us a personality there.
Mike Uva?
Frank, in the second half, I mean, what were just some of the things that you guys did you think that were just different, or do you guys just think that they were able to make some adjustments just without looking at the films right now? Just they just came at us, Mike. I mean, we just didn't score in the second half. We scored 40 in the first half, 19 in the second. We just didn't score. We missed. What we shoot from the foul line in the second half. I don't even know. I'm trying to look at our numbers here. We were 6 of 14 from the foul line in the second half. That's 8 free throws. That's a lot of points that you leave on the table in the second half. We really didn't make threes in the second half. And then, like I said, Wildens has back-to-back layups. I put Taquan Woodley in. He gets an offensive rebound. He's got a chance for a putback, and instead he reverse pivots and throws it to them for a breakaway layup. And that's 6 straight points from your bigs that you got to convert at the rim, and we don't. And we're not playing the sisters of the poor here. We're playing really good basketball team. These guys are really good. They just beat LSU on the road, who's a top 10 team in the country. And they weren't happy at halftime. Arkansas, they came out, and you can tell with the aggression they played with to start the second half. And our older players have to make, when you're on the road, your older players have to make the man plays. They got to make the layups. They got to come up with the loose balls. They got to get that tough defensive rebound to let everyone know it's going to be okay. And we didn't do that in the second half, and it kind of set the tone for how the whole half went.
Thomas?
Yeah, Frank, you ended their streak of 1,092 games with a three-pointer made. You wanted to challenge them from three with the amount of zone you played?
Yeah, they're not a great three-point shooting team. I thought in the first half our zone was pretty good. I thought in the first half our man-to-man was pretty good. I really thought we defended fairly well. Then the second half, whether we went zone or man, they just said, we're driving the ball and I'm coming. Heck, they had 2 plays where they drove the ball against a 2-3 zone from the top and shot a layup at the front of the rim. Where's our center? I'm still looking for him. One was Wildens, one was Josh Gray. They just, they came out with a with a sense of like, this is our home court. We got to play better. And to start the second half, we just kind of, we made some deflating plays on both ends, like I said, that just kind of dropped our spirit. And
Yeah, I think you said yesterday you wanted to see Eric pop a couple of Advil and get out there tonight. Happy to see him across the way, I guess.
Yeah, man. This business is hard. This business beats you up, and at this time of year, it's really mentally stressful. And when guys are physically beat up, it's good to see him out there. It's actually good that he's got one arm in a harness, so he settles down a little bit.
Thanks.
Cam,
Hey, Frank, you kind of mentioned some of the issues on offense, the turnovers again, another just not a good night for the turnovers after getting them under control a little bit more against Florida. Were you seeing just a lot of the same issues of carelessness with that, or was Arkansas maybe doing something differently that was causing some of those turnovers?
It was all the second half. It wasn't the first half. Everything, the second half we had, I think it was 11 turnovers in the second half, if I remember correctly. They got after us early in the half, they got after us defensively. So that's why your bigs have to convert those plays at the rim. You can't miss those. Those are point blank layups. And if you can't make the layup, you got a shot fake, create a foul, get to the foul line, make some free throws. And instead we go 0 for 3 on those plays, and they're getting after us on the perimeter. We tried to create some separation. Eric couldn't make a shot today. And they stayed with James Reese. They never gave James any space. So, if they're going to corral Devon so he can't drive, and they're going to stay home with the shooters, the game is wide open for your big at the rim. But it's we didn't do a very good job of taking advantage of that in the second half.
Michael and Anna.
I know Jermaine and AJ Wilson have missed a lot of practice time with injuries. Is it an injury issue for them tonight, or is it still just a matter of kind of getting up to speed?
Not today.
Okay.
Mike Cuba.
Frank, for both those guys that Michael just mentioned, I mean, is that something that you knew going into tonight's game that was going to be the case, that they weren't going to be out there? That was a coach's decision. And how do you hope, especially for a guy like Jermaine being an upperclassman, how do you hope he responds to this tonight?
Yeah, it's you got to be prepared to play, man. It's I put guys on the court that are physically and mentally prepared to go help us win, and that's what I'm going to do. I've always done that. I'm going to continue to do that. Those two guys are good guys. They got to get to a place where mentally they're engaged with what we're doing so they can help us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right.